I couldn't help but notice that you've clicked on and are presently listening to an episode of the Paranormal Patio podcast. Thanks a lot. I appreciate your support. And if you want to continue to support us, the best thing you can do is share our episodes on social media. That's right. You can tag us in everything. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can also find us on paranormalpatio.com, where you'll find articles, links to information from our past guests, as well as, every episode as it comes out. Also, head on over to Patreon. Patreon.com/BeyondThePatio. You can get a monthly live stream, at least one. Sometimes we do more. Exclusive bonus content, early access to all of our episodes. And starting with Season 3, I've got to move Season 1 to the archives. So they'll be on Patreon as well, and you can listen to them there. Thanks again for your support. And hey, let's get into the episode. What kind of weird thing are we talking about today? On this episode, I'm joined by a co-host, Adam Taula, everybody's favorite. And we're going to talk with Jeff Diamond about some haunted hospital stuff in Utah. And I thought, when I came across Jeff's stories online, it'd be great to have him on the show, number one. And then immediately I thought, how great would it be to get Adam involved? Because Adam, as you all know, lives in Utah and is very experienced in paranormal investigation. And so why not put the two together? It's like bread and butter. It's like peas and carrots. And so they're all here with me in the studio of the Paranormal Patio, and we're going to dig into some ghostly things. We don't cover ghosts a whole lot on the show, so it's a little bit refreshing, I guess.
You're listening to the Paranormal Patio Podcast.
Welcome back to Paranormal Patio. As always, I am Jason, tonight joined by a guest host, which hasn't happened in a very long time, since the days of John. Adam Taula is here, direct from Utah. Adam, welcome back to the show. It's always good to have you.
Well, hi there. Thanks for having me, Jason.
Yeah.
How's it going?
Oh, dude, it's just going so good. I brought you here tonight because I came across this guy online who was telling some stories about a haunted hospital in Utah. And I thought, well, I'd love to talk to this guy for one. And two, how could I not bring Adam in on this? Because we're talking about ghosts in Utah. Like, the road has been paved, sir.
I know. You have to call me. You have to give me a call whenever any of those things happen. Ghosts, Utah, give me a call.
Yeah, dude.
I'm very excited.
It's perfect. We're going to bring him in a little bit. His name's Jeff. We'll talk to Jeff here shortly. In the meantime, I thought, like, you and I haven't had any, shared content in a little bit. We need to do another After Dark soon. So
yes,
we need to plan for that. I know it's kind of difficult right now with real life, boring life stuff, but we'll get there. We'll figure it out.
You're a busy guy. We both are.
Yeah, you're really busy nowadays, being a TV star and everything.
Oh, yeah. Oh, goodness. Absolutely. All those autograph signings and Walmart gigs. I'm a little tired, but I'm glad to be here, of course.
And of course, you're still doing all of your videos and your content for your channel. And so I thought we could talk about that a little bit right now, kind of get us in the groove here before we bring Jeff in.
Yeah. Well, by the way, I've never signed an autograph in my life. Wouldn't that be fun? That's a joke.
I have.
I have been to a Walmart, though. Absolutely.
Fun story, and I may have told this before. Whenever I was in high school, like 16, 17 years old, the Osbournes on MTV was like really picking up a lot of steam, right? And I looked a lot like Jack Osbourne. Yeah, I looked so much like Jack Osbourne. Except for, like, my hair wasn't curly. Like, his has kind of got that curly poof to it. Anyway, so I go down to Evansville, Indiana, to the mall, and me and my girlfriend at the time were like walking through like the food court area, and some guy goes, "Your dad sucks and I hate your show." And he threw a fucking cup at me.
Oh no.
And somebody's like, "Who is that?" And he's like, "It's Jack Osborne." And then like 4 or 5 people came up to me and I signed autographs as Jack Osborne.
I would have been like, "Can you at least give me a hot dog on a stick if you're going to throw stuff at me?"
Dude.
That's pretty funny. I can see that. Absolutely. I can see that.
You know, but I was taller then than he has ever been. Like, cause really, I hit my last big growth spurt, like, I don't know, 14 probably. So I've been like 6'4" since forever.
You're like 14.
And I mean, I'd been shaving since like 8th grade because I didn't want to be the junior high kid with a beard, you know, so.
Oh,
like,
I've been jealous. That's awesome.
Point being, I don't feel like I looked a lot like Jack Osborne, and I definitely don't look like him now. But it was still fun, and it's one of my favorite stories from like that time period of my life.
I mean, I love that. That's a great story. I did not have anything like that back in the day, but that's pretty cool.
So you've got stuff coming up. What kind of video content can we expect from the Paranormal Polynesian here within the next few weeks?
What can you expect? Well, I know I've got a few haunted history walking tours coming up. There's going to be one tomorrow on the channel, and I'll have another one posted probably on Tuesday for my Patreon. Going to some cool little ghost towns here in Utah, keeping it close to home. And I had something follow me back from one of my latest investigations. And I've got video footage of my lights going crazy, which I've never had that happen before. I went to Laughlin last week, got a little crazy at the casino. That's kind of fun. I'll be posting that stuff. And then I'm really excited. In a few weeks, I'll be going back to the Stanley in Estes Park, Colorado, which is, if people don't know already, you should know by now. This is the hotel that inspired The Shining by Stephen King.
Yes.
And then I'm going to go take the ghost tour. My friends and I were having leave the kids at home and get away for the first time in probably 5 years. So it's going to be really fun. After we go to the Stanley, we're going to Denver to watch the debut of The Shining, the opera at the Metropolitan Opera there, I think, in Denver. So it's an actual opera based off The Shining. So it's like full circle, like a Shining getaway. I'm excited.
Yeah, man, that's awesome.
My favorite. Yeah, one of my favorite stories.
I was going to bring out my Overlook Hotel mug that I got from your store to drink my Monster Energy out of, but it was dirty and I didn't have time to wash it. So I didn't want to take that chance because who needs a bacterial infection?
Yeah, you don't need to be getting a bacterial infection right now. You know, we've already had, let's keep 2022 cool, you know?
Keep it clean.
Should that be this thing? Keep it clean, keep it cool. Keep this year sane and normal.
Hashtag clean yo mugs.
Hashtag clean your mug.
Anyway,
I love a good mug. Yeah.
The only like stage type musical type show thing that I've ever seen, I got to watch The Lion King in Toronto back in 2001. That was really awesome.
Did you like it then? Yeah.
Yeah, it was really great. We took a big trip for band. Actually, we fundraised for this trip for like 4 years, and we got to go. We went to Niagara Falls, and we spent several hours there. And we went by chartered bus. So it was, quite a drive. I stayed up that whole night. And the first thing we did when we got to Niagara Falls was went to this like historical movie theater where they played a video about Niagara Falls, like the history of the falls and, all this stuff. And I fell asleep instantly. I'd have no idea what happened there. So we spent the day there, and then we went to Toronto, and the next day opened up like a parade thing for this amusement park called Canada's Wonderland. It was basically like a Kings Island Canadian.
Oh, wow.
So we marched through the whole park, and we got to like memorize where stuff was. And then when we finished up, we got changed, and we got to spend the whole day at the park. And then that night we went to one of the, what are they called? The like medieval times restaurant. Yeah. And so I got to do that, and that was for the first time, and that was really cool. And then the next day we just did a few other things, and then we went to that Lion King thing, and we all we got this like really formal letter about this Lion King thing. We would not be allowed in if we were wearing blue jeans or t-shirts. Men could not have open-toed shoes. Like we were, we're just a bunch of like freshmen, sophomore high school kids. Like, we had no idea what we were getting into. We're from the corn. You know what I mean? This required a planning and a purchase to be allowed in. Like, what are we going to do if we don't get, they don't let us in? We're just going to stand here on the streets of Toronto and wait,
Did you go to the Kmart and get some clothes? Because, that was my big thing when I was a kid, was going to Kmart. It was like the thing to do.
I don't remember where they came from. Like, my mom was a manager at our Goodwill here for like 15 years. So, like, I got all kinds of good stuff.
Nice. You know what's
haunted
so funny,
Goodwill
though?
too, by the way.
Fast forward to today, because I've been to many a Broadway show. There's no dress code. They're crazy. They're lying to you. People show up like in pajamas and flip-flops and wife beaters. Like literally. It's so funny to see people's idea of like a night on Broadway. So I'm sure your open-toed shoes would have been fine back then, but it's always good to get dressed up now and then, and it's exciting when you're a kid.
Yeah.
So you loved the show. I still haven't seen that. That's one of the few I haven't seen.
Yeah, it was great, man. It was a lot of fun. It was surprisingly fun because it was not one of the highlights that I had in my head. Like, this is going to be a fun thing. It was like, well, I have to do this one there too. But no, I think we all enjoyed it. Everybody got in. We actually had a couple of people at the theme park in our group that almost got arrested and deported while we were there because, we're all from the States. So the last episode that I put out, and it's not technically out while we're recording this, unless you're on Patreon, I talked a little bit about bringing a ghost home with me, and I've talked to you about it personally, and now you've brought one home too, huh? Is it still around?
I don't think so. This video was recorded back last August, and we've talked personally.
Oh, okay. I know what you're talking about.
In my life.
Yeah.
We had a lot of stuff go on that month. And it was crazy because the night before we went to I'm still deciding if this spirit came from the nursing home we were at. I was with Wendy visiting her sister at this nursing home where they've been having demonic sort of entities. And I captured, one of my very first purple orbs. And it was a legitimate orb that you could see with your eyes glowing in the dark, purple, and I've only seen another one of those, that particular color, on the Queen Mary in Long Beach, and it's definitely something interesting that I've never seen. But I didn't know if we brought something maybe from that hospital or from the cemetery, but I do remember when the lights started going crazy, I told Wendy and I told my husband, for your listeners that don't know, my channel's called The Paranormal Polynesian because I am kind of a haunted person, and I also will sense things and just like blurt them out, and usually it'll happen. But I remember that day when these lights went crazy that you'll see in this video, I turned to my husband and I said, I think someone's going to die. Like, between the orb I saw, I just had a really strong feeling someone was going to die. The next day, our cat died, and then Wendy's brother died. And
I didn't know that.
Right after that, the sister that we visited in the video that I posted, she actually passed away too. So it was a very weird, kind of crazy month, and a lot of weird. And I don't believe in curses necessarily. Well, for me, I try not to put any stock into that. But I don't know. I think something happened between going to that cemetery, and I brought some sort of negative energy in the house, and I had to cleanse it again. It's nothing like it was back then, but it's, a lot of things happened in that week.
Yeah.
So it makes you think, I wonder what happened or what I brought back. So that's why I always try and tell people it's important when you're doing these kinds of things, keep yourself safe, spiritually, whatever you believe in, mentally, just keep a barrier up. and take control to avoid things like that happening. Because it really does happen. You know,
Yeah.
a lot of people tell me that they have issues after they go places.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting. Definitely weird.
One of the things that I've always heard about people who become obsessed with a specific location is that, you know, there might be some sort of attachment or something like that.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering now more and more every day about this cemetery that you co-hosted the live stream for my Patreon folks.
Oh, yeah.
It has become not an obsession, but definitely a fascination at this point. And like, I'm already planning things that I want to do whenever I go back. And I'm thinking about it a lot. And I'm wondering, since I brought something back with me, like, is that thing like the bridge that's keeping me there, like the cord that has attached me to this place now? I haven't had anything negative happen. I've been whistled at, and like, in the grand scheme of things, like, that's one of the things like you would prefer, I guess. Like,
yeah,
you know, hey, I'm getting whistled at. You know what I'm saying? So, how you doing? So that's all I'm dealing with. I haven't had any, you know, anything negative happen. I haven't had anything really scary happen. Surprised when I've heard the whistle with my own ears outside the studio, which I talked about in the last episode. But it has happened again since I recorded that episode. It was a few nights ago. I heard the whistle again a few times. I did not whistle back this time. I don't know why I didn't.
Okay.
But yeah, it's weird, man. It's weird. It's the first time I've ever had to do anything like this or deal with it, because it's not really something that, I don't know. You and I have talked a lot. We spent a lot of time talking. Mm-hmm. And you know that like the ghost aspect of paranormal phenomena is not typically like a focal point in my research. And this whole cemetery thing only came about because of the Bigfoot stuff that's there and the balls of light. And, you know, and I've seen the UFO there. Like all the other weirdo stuff is what has really drawn me to this place. But now, after getting evidence of ghost phenomena there, now it's like, now I'm interested in that aspect, at least in this location. And I wonder what else I'm going to have. You know, what else is going to happen? So I'm looking forward to it. And I'm sure that the listeners of the show are looking forward to it. And Patreon folks are going to be looking forward to it too, because that means more live streaming content going on out there in the middle of nowhere in an old cemetery.
I love it.
Yeah, man. I might have to enlist your help again in the future.
I'll be here. Just let me know. And I'll actually, you know, unmute my microphone when I'm helping you out, and people will hear me talk, and it'll be a thing. But I'm glad you've got the little ghost bugs. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Although I don't know if I told you, but the whole whistling thing kind of does make me a little weirded out, because, you know, in Native American culture, it's very negative to hear whistling at night outside, or to whistle. So it makes me think, you know, what did you unlock?
Yeah,
out
right.
there, Jason.
I know.
Be a skinwalker or something crazy.
Yeah, for sure. You know, and a friend of mine, Keith, who was in episode 1 of season 3, we've been talking, and, you know, there's a lot of folklore, not in our immediate area, but in the surrounding area with the Native American stuff of the Wendigo. And so we had a lot of discussion, Keith and I, about the Wendigo. Keith is a fountain of information. He has all these crazy theories and stuff. He's really into the Native American stuff and the French history that we have in our area, because he comes from that mixed lineage of the Native Americans that were here and the French. And so just through genealogy research that he's done, he has sort of come back into it full circle, and he's picking up these weird historical, like, folklore things now, right? And that is really driving not only his personal, like, paranormal research, but, like, it's feeding into mine now. You know, we're talking about all these weird things that are going on, and I think we're going to go to Cahokia, which is over by St. Louis, Cahokia Mounds. Okay. I think we're going to go there when it warms up. It's a Native American mound. It's our closest one, I think, that we have. I don't think the Serpent Mound in Ohio is closer. I think we're actually closer to Cahokia. I've
heard of this. Yeah, I've heard of this. Awesome.
Back in the summer, our historical society actually brought in an archaeologist who is like a resident weapons archaeologist at Cahokia. He's like this little old man, and he's been doing it for a long time, and he finds these pieces, or other people find these pieces, and they bring them to him, and he like figures out how they were used, how they work, and he does demonstrations of how they were used using recreated tools and recreated weapons and things. And I went and watched him speak for like 2 hours, and it's fascinating. It just really made me want to get out there.
I love that. I want to come. When you going, Jason? I'll be there.
I'll let you know, man. I'll let you know. You can fly to St. Louis.
I'm kind of half being serious. Like I mean, I'm not half being. I am being serious. I would love to. Well, we already know I'm gonna come out that way. But you've got so many cool things out there to see. I just need to just jump in the car and head over, or hop on a train. I don't know.
Hop on a train. So this what's weird about my spot is we're like 2 to 3 hours away from lots of things. Like we're really centrally located, and there's not anything here of interest to people who aren't coming here for work. But like in 2 hours, we can be in Indianapolis. In like 3.5, 4 hours, we can be in Chicago. 3 hours, we can be in St. Louis. 3 hours, we can be in Louisville, Kentucky, or Lexington in like 4. We have like all this stuff that's close, you know what I mean? That we could make a day trip of.
Well, I think that's pretty cool. And yes, I will be coming out that way. It's a matter of when. It's definitely going to happen.
Cannot wait.
And then you better be coming out this way too.
Oh, for sure. 100%. Jeff is here, and I'm going to bring Jeff in, and we'll talk to him about his stuff, and and then we'll finish up the episode. So I'm really looking forward to hear what Jeff has to say.
Yeah, me too.
We'll drop Jeff in here. Hey, Jeff, how are you?
I'm tired. How are you?
Also tired. Adam lives in Utah and is a paranormal investigator, and well, sort of now. He's more into the general paranormal now, less of the investigation, but you've done a lot of time paranormal investigating, Adam, and I thought this is a perfect mix. I come across Jeff's story online, and I'd like to have him tell it on the show. I reach out, and then I was like, I have to have Adam on this because this is the perfect merger here for all this content. So, Jeff, if you wouldn't mind, just kind of give a brief relative background to what you do and all this stuff for us. That'd be great.
Right now I'm a CNA. I used to work at hospital formerly known as Holy Cross, and that's in downtown Salt Lake City. Now I work at a different one. Yeah, that's pretty much it for me in the recent past. And
your stories were just oogie. I think that's the word I want to use, oogie. So if you wouldn't mind, just indulge us with this stuff, and you don't have to spend a whole lot of time on it. I'll let you tell your piece, and then we'll let you cut bait and get out of here. I appreciate you coming on and sharing this stuff with us. But I found it fascinating. We'll have you tell your stories, and then maybe get Adam's impression, and then we'll just go from there.
Like I said, I used to work at a hospital. It was called Holy Cross initially because the nuns founded it. Yay! But I came in late 2020, and at first I didn't really think much of it. I just kind of half-jokingly asked people, "Oh, is it haunted?" Yes. I would look at them like, "Oh, well, that's kind of blunt." But as time went on, I realized, that there's a lot of stuff going on here. One thing that happened directly to me, I was on, I think, the first floor on my break, and I had to go up to the third floor where I was working that night. And we have this elevator in that building. It's really tiny. It's maybe 3 feet by 5 feet. That's Freedom units. I don't know what it is in metric. Really, really old, and old enough where the linoleum on the floor is cracking and falling apart. I hit the button to call the elevator. Door opened. Okay, great, go in. And it closed on me before I could go in, which is old. That's not unusual. And I stepped back, and it opened. Started to go again. Closed on me again. I backed up. It opened. Tried to go in. Closed on me again. I backed up and it opened. And I said, okay, this is really funny, but I need to get to work. I don't know why I decided to say it out loud, but it stayed open and let me go back up to the nurse's station on the 3rd floor. That's what happened to me, but there are a lot of other freaky things that happen to other people, if you'd like to hear those.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Whatever you are willing to share with us is fascinating.
Jeff, can I ask you real quick? Is this Salt Lake Regional Hospital now? Is that what it's called?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Okay. I was just curious. I've never been to that, so this is very cool to hear these stories.
Well, I mean, it's in a part of the city that's old. What is it? Maybe like 3 or 4 blocks from the University of Utah.
Mm-hmm.
So right downtown, and yeah, it's even now I work at a hospital that's in the same network, and everyone that has worked there is like, "Oh, you worked at Regional too." It's
Wow.
too.
I used to work right off of First South for years, so I know of it. I just never got a chance to go investigate or anything, but I've heard stories for sure. So sorry, go ahead, tell us some more.
2, I think, of the freakiest things, besides, someone walking into a room and it turns out there's no one in the room. Okay, I think that's par for the course. Most hospitals have that kind of thing going on. In that same elevator, we called it the spooky elevator because we're so creative with names.
Well, it is spooky sounding, so.
Well, yeah. You know how elevators have emergency phones?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This was one that you can't call. Like, there's no incoming line. It's just outgoing to EMS or to the emergency department. Someone that'll come and help. One night, it wasn't while I was on, the phone rang in the elevator. And one of the nurses, because it's 3 o'clock in the morning, and what else are you going to do? She went in to answer the phone because, yeah, like I said, it's what you do. And she heard a voice that said, Mommy, is that you?
What?
So, yeah, so I guess she
no.
hung up the phone and yeeted out of the elevator back to the nurse's station. Yeah.
So,
wow.
in my line of work, I am familiar with how these telephone systems are wired in buildings like this, and even in an elevator. Exactly. We have an elevator where I work now that has, the emergency phone inside. The wiring going to the telephone system is rigged in the way, like you mentioned, that you cannot receive calls to that line. It can only call out. For there to be a change in that, whoever is managing that telephone system has to go into the panel and literally rewire the phone to the direct terminals to be able to receive calls. So it's not like something could have just fallen loose and made contact with something, like with another terminal. It had to have been physically rewired, or there's something that's not normal going on in this phone elevator.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh no, that just gave me chills. That's crazy. I didn't realize that. So that's spooky. Absolutely spooky.
And that makes some sense. I mean, it's not just you throw an old phone in there and suddenly it can make calls like
right.
we did back in the 90s when people had landlines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. That's weird, man. That's really weird.
Oh yeah, that. I'd be like, I'm gonna go now. I'm good for the night.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I don't blame her one little honey septillion to, when she just hung up and ran. Because that's...
Oh, wow. Do you know the history of this? Can you tell the listeners a little bit more about the history of the hospital? Do you happen to know? I know it had to do with the church, the Catholic Church, right?
I know a little bit. I think it was in the 1880s. The Sisters of the Holy Cross established it, and it was it was called a large brick hospital. I think it had like 30 some odd beds in it. So not big by modern standards, but pretty big for the time. They built a chapel, which that has its own. Yeah, that's its own creature right there. Then they upgraded the hospital in the 50s and the 70s. Yeah, that's kind of where it sits now. What would you like to know? I don't know a whole lot about it, but just kind of the basic outline.
You had me at haunted nuns in a hospital. I mean, I just picture floating nuns floating down a hall of a haunted hospital. That's all I need for a visual. Sounds pretty creepy.
Yeah.
Oh, it gets worse.
Lay it on, man. Lay it on.
There are tunnels. The way it's laid out, there's the main hospital and the chapel, and then on the northwest corner, there's a building. They use it for education and things now. That's where the nuns used to live. And they had a tunnel dug out from there to the main campus so that they could get there, I'm guessing, so they could get there in the winter because, it's cold as hell in Utah in the winters.
Oh, yeah.
When you're going from the hospital to that building, it starts out kind of run down, but not super creepy rundown, if that makes sense. But the closer you get, the older it gets, and the less well kept it is. Incidentally, that's where the morgue is as well. So yeah, having a morgue underground is a lot of fun, especially when you have to go past it at 3 a.m.
Oh no!
Yeah, that's kind of the hazing ritual we did.
That's awful.
It's awesome. I loved it. One time, my friend, she was taking one of the new hires down through the tunnels, and it's creepy. That's one of the administrators says that's where beds go to die. So like half the hall is kind of cluttered with beds and stuff that don't work anymore. They got clear to the door where it goes into the old dormitories. You look through the window, and I guess they were on their way back. It's hard to describe. In the older part of the tunnels, they have these doors that are boarded up. I don't know where they went to, or what would be on the other side, but, it's old enough the wood is kind of falling apart. I guess my friend, when she was hazing the newbie, they were going past one of those things, and they heard scratching on the other side of one of those planks of wood.
Nope.
And again, that's the point where you just run away. Because, it's best not to question that.
Yeah.
That's terrifying. The ghost hunter in me would absolutely stay and check it out, but the other part of me would already be outside running. So I love it.
Am I the only one drawing parallels here to a tunnel to a morgue being like the river Styx and like the final journey from the living world to the world of the dead?
Oh, I mean,
you were the only one. Now I am too.
It's such a liminal path to death. Mm-hmm. Your body is literally being carried through the underground, the underworld, to its resting place, even though it's only a temporary resting place, but where you become less part of the physical living world and more part of the world of the dead. And I think that is absolutely terrifying.
Oh gosh, yeah, it is. Thanks a lot. Now I'm thinking of it that way, Jason.
Sorry, man.
That's deep. That's deep. But yeah, I do get that. And I must go to this hospital now that I know that I know I probably can't, but gosh, I just live an hour or so away, so I'd love to check it out. Do you have connections to go back in and investigate ever? Do you ever go back?
I mean, I could go back, but I don't know if because it's all in the basement, right? I don't know if I could get access down to the tunnels or anything like that. I know that a couple of times when I was still working there, the lady that works in like the central laundry, which is down there as well, she would she wandered around all over the place. But one time she looked at me, "You shouldn't be here."
No joke. Like, you shouldn't either. Get out.
Like, hey, I'm on the yellow. We're bringing the new people down. And she's like, oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
She knows about it. And security goes down there a lot, too, because they have to grab, just random stuff out of the central stock room. And that's, they're also the ones that take bodies down to the morgue. And those like right across from each other.
It's a one-stop shop, Just take care of everything all at once.
Exactly.
It sounds a lot like the hospital I used to work in maintenance, and everybody in a smaller hospital wears a lot of hats. Everybody has to help out and do a lot of different things that aren't necessarily their job. And I would have to, besides escorting flight patients to the helicopter pad, I also would have to take people in and out of the morgue while I was there. As a maintenance guy, you know what I mean? Like, so it's not uncommon for, that type of stuff to happen with having security, when you said that, having security be responsible for taking bodies in. And then you have, the kind of macabre, like the organ donor stuff, when people come to harvest whatever it is that they're taking for donation, you have to go and get them out, take them to the OR, right, and get everything set up. In an empty, closed OR in a small community hospital, like at night, while it's just you and this body, this like vessel of donation, you're pushing it through this empty OR, and like, it's creepy,
Oh, wow. I couldn't. I mean, I could, but I would have a little bit of trouble sleeping every night. I had to do that. That's intense. Wow. So I don't know. Are you from Utah then?
Yeah. I'm originally from Spanish Fork, and I live in Salt Lake County now.
Oh, wow. I live in Springville, so I lived in Spanish Fork as well. I'm from California originally, but I've noticed in Utah there's so many tunnels that are connecting throughout the cities here, and more so than anywhere I've lived, but especially out in Ogden and things like that. Do you find that's the case, or do you think that's like a Utah thing, or what's, I know that they had a lot of stuff during Prohibition in the city where they would use those for things. But I hear so many crazy stories involving tunnels in Salt Lake and also in Ogden. And it's just really interesting.
I haven't heard anything really about, tunnels throughout the city. I'm not surprised that there are Prohibition, like run tunnels or anything like that.
No.
But Ogden, that doesn't surprise me at all, because it's Ogden.
Ogden is just spooky on its own. In the day, it doesn't matter. That's a crazy town.
Yeah, if I were to investigate, I would want to stop by and see if there was anything left over from the Hi-Fi murders.
Oh yeah. If those of you listening, the Hi-Fi murders, was that in the 80s or the early 80s?
70s or 80s. One of my friend's mom worked next door.
If you don't know about the Hi-Fi shop, it was a stereo shop, and oh my gosh, it's so graphic. The story of how these poor was it multiple workers that were murdered and tortured.
Yeah, I think only like 3 people survived out of like 9.
Wow. I haven't heard about this. I'll have to look this up.
Yeah,
so not to change gears or anything, but do you have any more stories about this tunnel of death under the hospital in Utah?
Just the tunnel of death.
Well, I took pictures down there, and the pictures are gone. Like, I haven't deleted any pictures off my phone, but those ones are gone.
Interesting.
That's really, yeah. It's not like, in some ways, I kind of wish it was more like Robert the Doll, in that I have proof that these photos are real, but yeah, they're just gone.
It's really weird. Was there anything like evidential on the photos?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Gotcha.
It was just kind of a picture of, look how creepy these old ass tunnels are.
Yeah. Maybe you took them from another dimension, right? Like you slipped into the world of the dead, right? And took the pictures. And then when you came back, the pictures remained in that dimension. And now you don't have them.
I wonder what the turnaround time is on the 1 hour photo Another Dimension. Is it more than an hour? Or
do they still have photomats?
I don't know. I don't think I've seen one.
They're in the world of the dead because
I'll make an exception for you.
It's a dead business, man. They exist there.
Oh, wow.
A dead business pun?
Yes. It's what we do here in the Paranormal Patio. No, for real.
You've got the dad jokes.
I do. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it comes with being a dad. They give you like the whole chapter in the back of the manual. It's just like how to make embarrassingly stupid jokes that only other dads appreciate. Yeah, wow. For sure. So, okay, no more real tunnel stories. Do you have any more stories just about the hospital in general, or?
I guess there was one, someone online mentioned this, and you might have read it as well, that they were in the emergency room one time, and the way it's set up, there's one big trauma room where, someone gets shot or in a really bad car accident, they go there. Someone who's swallowed heroin or something like that goes into a different room. There are a few bigger ones, but I guess this one person was in the ER for something relatively minor, and the doctor had to run to the trauma room because someone had just come in with a gunshot wound. Someone came into the room and said, "It's okay, the doctor will be in just a minute. They're just finishing up." And, later the doctor came in, check on him and said, "Oh, Kathy was just in here." You're like, no one named Kathy works here. And, that's pretty much it. It's just, weird. Enough weird stuff happens or I guess too much weird stuff happens to discount it out of hand.
Yeah, for sure. I totally get it, man. Like hospitals, you think about it, it's a place where there's so much energy, and it's every kind of energy. It's fear and sadness and depression and, crippling morality, but it's also a place where babies are born and there's so much joy and excitement, and places where people are healed of something that was going to kill them. There are so many different emotions and so many different emotional energies that are poured into these walls and these floors. The very fabric of the building is essentially just absorbing all of this different energy, man. And there's no way that doesn't reflect out, for other people to pick up on. Hospitals are those weird places, man, where I can't even compare it to anything else. Like if you wanted to go the route of like nursing homes or whatever, it's all like negative. You don't go to a nursing home to get better. You don't go to a prison and get better. Those are places where there's just sadness, the negative aspects of all the emotions. But hospitals also have that brightness to them. And it's such a weird dichotomy and such a weird place for things that are paranormal to happen. I've always been fascinated with hospitals.
I can't count how many people have said, "Oh, you worked at Holy Cross. I was born there." Or "My mom was born there. My grandma was born there." Literally hundreds of people have said that to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jason, you said that very eloquently. That's what I was, thinking. Out of all the places I've investigated, hospitals definitely have to be the one where I just can't put my finger on the energy. It's unlike any other place. Hospitals, and for me, hotels have a kind of a similar energy where there's so many things that have gone on that, I'll walk into a building, into a hotel, and I just become so overwhelmed with the different types of sadness and excitement and anger. There's just so many different emotions that go through the walls of a hospital. That's why it's, anytime I've almost always gotten an EVP or some sort of activity in the hospital, because you're right. There's so many different emotions that go through and saturate the building.
Adam,
permanently.
Do you have any stories about any hospitals like in the area where Jeff is that like he might be like, "Oh, I know that place and I've heard of this sort of thing happening"?
I have to say, as far as hospitals go, the one in Ogden, the Ogden Exchange building, they say was, Weber County Mental Health at one point. It was a hospital. That's where I've, gotten EVPs of little kids, and We've gotten actual photographs of people in the windows, full body apparitions where someone died in a room. I've also spent the night straight up slept on an air mattress in the morgue down in this hospital. And it's an eerie place. This hospital was also like a bank at one point, and someone was shot and killed up on the second floor. There's just so many. Another man jumped off of the balcony into the lobby, 2 stories down. There's just so much energy there. And it's in Ogden, which Ogden itself, for me, being sensitive, I can't even stay in the city very long. It just wipes me out, and it makes me some type of way I can't explain, and I have to just like cleanse myself after going to this town. Because some of your listeners, might know, Ogden was the gateway to the West at one point. It had more crime in that city than anywhere in the nation because of, with the trains and everything coming in and out. And there's just so many stories there. But I will say that's one of the craziest places. Also in Lehigh, you'll know this, the Lehigh Hospital. Have you heard of that place? It's since been torn down, but that is where I've seen I feel like it was demonic activity in that building. That hospital had an elevator in its day. For some reason, they put the operating room on the second floor, and apparently patients would die before they'd get up to the operating room because they used hydraulics, I believe, for the elevator. And so it would take an hour to go from the first floor to the second. So a lot of the times the patients would be dead before they could get up to be operated on. So there's just so much energy in that building. I've been hissed at by what sounds like a snake down in the hospital was eventually used as a crematorium, I guess, and an auto body shop. I mean, there's just so many different things. Like, they just really go all out here in Utah. It was like using a building over again. But eventually it had to be condemned because it just was falling in on itself. But hospitals...
I have a question for you. Have you ever checked out the State Mental Hospital in Provo?
No, but I've heard of it. Yeah.
There's an old stone. It looks like a castle. That's creepy as fuck.
Well, let's go. I'll meet you over there. Let me know. Who do we talk to?
Okay.
I'm being serious. I would love to go check it out. I don't know who I would talk to, but I was going to say we should keep in touch because I would love to get back out there. I haven't investigated in a while, but it used to be, what I did every single week. Do you go out a lot now, or do you get to investigate much? I
don't. I haven't been able to for years and years and years.
It's a little hard. It's a little hard to get into places. If you're not in an actual group, I feel like it's a hot commodity to get on a location and be able to investigate. I know back in the day it was people calling me for help. Now you have to sort of pay someone hundreds of dollars if you want to go investigate, which, I understand the reasoning and everything, but I do miss those old days where people were calling saying, "Can you help me? Can you bring a priest? Can you come help us cleanse whatever's in this house?" And just getting to know people and getting to know the history. I mean, but Utah is such a hotbed of activity. There's so many, throw a rock somewhere, you'll hit a ghost. That's what I tell people. Or you'll hit something weird and strange that you'll only find here. Do you have a favorite place you've investigated ever besides this hospital?
There's an old building. It used to be called the Family Tree. It's in Santaquin.
Oh, yeah.
When I first heard about, it being haunted, I was like, "Are you serious?" In Santaquin? But I went down there. My parents lived down there. I just started talking to people. I was like, okay, yeah, there's some hinky going on here, because they would, how when you close down a restaurant for the night, you put the chairs and stuff back up on the table. Sometimes they would have silverware just kind of piled on top. Then the workers would come back in the morning. All the chairs were, set in their normal places around the table, and all the silverware had been thrown off.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Poltergeist.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Some pretty crazy poltergeist activity right there.
Oh, and one of the things that just, I don't know if it had anything to do with the actual haunting or if it was just creepy. They had all these old pictures of just, random family pictures hanging on the walls. Some of them were from like 1890 or something like that.
Yeah. They used to have the best scones ever, too. I tell you what, they were humongous.
I was just going to say.
That's big.
A gigantic.
Yeah.
That's
I'm
awesome.
so sad they closed. I just live, a few miles from that restaurant, but it's closed now. They say that whole area of Santa Quin, though, it's got an energy about it that reminds me of kind of like Skinwalker Ranch area. So there's definitely a lot of sort of like an ancient Native American type feeling, especially Santa Quin Canyon up there. I mean, that's a spooky, beautiful, beautiful place. Spooky town.
Walker Ranch yet, so that's on.
Oh, you haven't?
Oh, you and Adam definitely need to hook up and chat whenever you have free time because he's got some stories for you, man. You'll enjoy him, Jeff.
It's definitely a place to see if you can.
So, any closing thoughts from either of you guys? Anything that you feel like you really want to put out before we get out of here and go hide from the ghosts of the Utah hospitals?
So there were two fish in a tank. One of them looks at the other and says, "Do you know how to drive this thing?"
Oh, you're just a comedian. Who knew?
That's the end of the episode right there. Like, that is, when I edit it, that's the end. Without the laughing, without any of this, like, that is just the cold cut end of the episode. I love it.
I like you. You're a pretty good guy. I like it. That's funny.
Jeff, thanks so much for taking some time to come and talk with us, man. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thanks for reaching out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very
Anything
nice to chat with you.
anything that comes up, man, I'm always down to hear it. Of course, I'll probably see it on the Book of Faces and everything, but I definitely, you guys should definitely chat and stuff because I think you'll appreciate each other's stories for sure.
I'd love to keep in touch with you and hear any more adventures you might go on, or if I see anything, I'll see what you're up to and see if you'd like to come out. So I go with a group of anyone.
Sounds good. Absolutely.
Yeah. Sounds great. Thanks a lot, guys. That's all I've got. I mean, I really appreciate you guys, coming to chat and everything, and it's been a lot of fun.
Until next time, keep the fire going.